Hi everybody. This is my jam when I start to work. Well, and the dogs too, but we turn this down. Alright, back to it. What I'm going to do is I'm going to first show you how I've been hardening off. So if we go outside, this is where I brought out most of my plants. It was cold last night. It froze. It got down to 28, something like that. But anyway, luckily I did cover up everything because I figured it would probably frost, which it did. This is my cold weather plants, so I'm going to leave them out tonight because the low is only supposed to be 40, so I should be good. Beans are good. Kale, and I planted some beans. Those will be, or peas, those will be good. Some of my other ones, which are my hot weather, are over here. So I'm going to bring some of that in. Some of my flowers that I had under the lights. So I will be back in once I get everything inside. So I'm in my kitchen. I'm hoping my phone doesn't fall down. Hey guys, so I am going to be, after pulling in all of my plants and looking through my seed catalog, which if you've never seen one of these are great. These little, they come in like little containers that you can put your seeds in. Actually it's a photograph for carrying photographs and negatives and stuff like that, but it's great. Well, I'm hoping so far it's been great for organization, but I'm thinking taking it out in the yard. It's plastic, it's contained. I do want to say this one thing. When you open your seeds, your seed packets, make sure that once you open them, I didn't do that, you want to tape it up here. And the reason for that is I had some peas that I planted yesterday, and the peas are kind of big, and they fell out just all over the place. Luckily they were large so I could see them, so make sure you put them in either like a Ziploc. These are seeds that I have saved, or tape the back of this. So I'm going to start today. I've got a lot of stuff to plant tonight, but I'm going to start by planting basil. Now, we're kind of in the place where during the day it's gotten up to 70. Today it was 60. But last night, like I said earlier, it was really cold, so I had to cover everything. So I wouldn't have left the little seedlings, I wouldn't have brought them outside. Like this is kohlrabi here. And even though it's a cold weather plant, way too young, even if it wasn't young, to put it outside when it freezes. So, but tonight I will probably put the ones that I've been putting outside back. I have decided to go ahead with the basil, and the reason for that is because if you look up a planting calendar for your zone, you can type in planting zone for zone whatever. Mine is 8B. So when I looked at that zone, I'm about a week behind with basil, but it also says on the back of this, it says it'll sprout in 6 to 10 days. And right now, I have probably about 5 weeks for it to be ready to plant or be able to be planted outside. They do sprout pretty quickly, and I could probably wait until the spring to directly sow them, but what I have seen is, number one, when the seedlings are very small, the insects love them. So if I keep them inside, I have a more contained environment where I can keep a closer eye on them and grow them so they're stronger, so when I put them outside, they will have a better defense. So I have divided up all of my basils. I have a Siam Queen. I have Greek dwarf basil, which I already have some of those growing, but I'm going to take the older plots that still have some of the younger ones or the older ones growing, and I'm just going to kind of do a little bit of that soil and replant some other ones with that. Lemon basil, purple opal basil, which I love. I love it. Tastes really good. Also have some Genevieve basil, which I saved those from last year. They're the ones that normally come in your in the supermarket, and the ones we use in most dishes. To be real truthful, and I know this sounds crazy, but I like just eating them fresh in salads. I don't even like them necessarily cooked. So I'm really excited to taste some of the other basils. We have some Holy Basil, and we have some cinnamon basil. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to decide on the container I want. Normally, like onions, you can plant in one big container and just sow a lot of seeds in the same container. But since I have different varieties, I really want to keep them somewhat separate. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to plant them in 4-inch little pots. So I will show you that once I get my pots out. All right, so what I did is I decided to use cello cups. I just grabbed whatever I could around the kitchen. This is a claw meat grabber, and I just poked holes. This is a little bit of a pain. Now with seedlings, you don't need to go to a big expense on your soil, and the reason for that is because all the genetics that your seed needs to grow is in the actual seed. So I won't fertilize any of this until they get a little bit bigger. All right, so I have my cups of dirt. Now I mixed, what I did yesterday is I mixed 50% peat. As y'all can tell, I still don't have all the equipment that I need yet. Don't have a selfie stick. Never found a use for it. Anyway, I use 50% peat moss, and you can get peat moss 3 cubic feet for like $10. Pretty good cost. And then a big bag of vermiculite, so 50-50. And then I boiled water and poured it in here to get rid of any fungus gnats, just in case they're in there. And you love my scooper? Hey, whatever it takes, right? Now, the reason I let it sit overnight is because I wanted to make sure that it wasn't soggy wet. I wanted to give it a little bit of time to dry out. And depending on who you talk to, some people say that you don't need to wet your soil before you plant. I prefer to have mine a little moist. And the reason for that is because of once you put your seeds in, the water doesn't displace the seeds. Some people use a really fine mist. So, you know, you could give both a little try. So I'm just putting my cups down. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to press down the soil. And the reason I'm doing that is because if you have any air pockets, your seeds have a little bit more difficulty germinating. Now, normally in your small single cells, like that I have over here, you can't put as many seeds in it as you can the other. These are peat pellets, which are cool, but I don't know. We'll see how everything turns out, but right now I don't like how quickly they dry out. They're easy to use. They don't make as much of a mess, but it's not just about mess to me. Because you're going to make a mess somewhere. If it's not a mess with creating your soil, as far as getting the soil together, you do save that using the peat pellets. But what I have seen is a couple of the peat pellets that I have used, I have to be very careful when I move them, like when I water them, that I don't break them. So I'm having it, they take more water than the ones that you put together, the soil that are in containers. Okay. So now I have my containers and I am going to plant my seeds. Take it back over here. And I have decided okay. So I'm going to start off with my Siam Queen Thai basil. Put some in my hand. The seeds are really small. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to take a pinch and I'm just going to put them over the soil. And when they start to grow, before I do that, I need to label them. Since I don't have a marker with me, I'm just going to take masking tape. And I'm going to put Siam basil. And when I sowed them, which is 2/14. Make sure I label it. my Siam basil. So I'm going to do that with the rest of my basil, and I'll be back. Now the holy basil is really small, so I want to make sure that no seeds fall out. I don't know if you can see how small they are compared to the other basil, a lot smaller. So my last step is to cover the seeds. Now if you remember, the seeds are real small. On the back of each packet, normally it will say depths. And it doesn't want to show very well. This one is a little bit bigger because it's a bigger seed. With the basil, since it was little, I know that they're going to say to either 1/8 of soil covering or 1/4 down. So all I'm going to do is grab some soil, and I'm just going to lightly cover. And one thing I decided that I would do with those varieties that I already have, since I have some already growing in pots, rather than sowing them now, I'm going to wait until I can sow them outside and let them grow alongside the ones I've already planted, which would save me time in the room. So that would just, yeah, okay. So the last thing you're going to do is you're going to take water and you're going to fill up the bottom, and it's going to soak up the water. Now, normally when your soil needs to be wet, it'll look a really tan, really light color. I don't have any here because I just watered everything today. This is pretty dark, and rather than going ahead and watering it now, I'm going to give it a couple of days for the soil to dry out a little bit. Number one, it'll cause fungus gnats. They are pesties in the house. So, and then what I'm going to do from here is I'm going to take my plants to my grow room, and I'm going to put them underneath lights on a heating pad. Now, since they're dry and the light's pretty low and the solo cups are a little bit high, I'm just going to go ahead and very carefully just put them underneath the light. They need to be about an inch or two below the lights. And I probably need to lower the shelf or either bring the shelf up. This shelf that you see up here, the light's not on because this is for my seeds that have already germinated. With seeds that have not germinated, you can put them on a heating mat so they can germinate, but you cannot leave them on the mat. If you leave them on the mat, then it could burn the plants. And from everything that I've read, and this has worked for me this year so far, is I keep the light on until I see germination, because once it germinates just a little bit, if you're not there to turn on the light, then it's going to get leggy, and leggy is just long and skinny and just doesn't develop correctly. There's a way to fix it, but I say, you know, fix it while you can. Anyway, that's it for now, and I will see y'all. I will make another video about herbs. For right now, basil. Have a good one, y'all.